Greetings, my name is Kerry and welcome back to my channel. I am here with another book diary, here being my parents' house. I've come home for a little visit, yay! Which is really nice because restrictions are allowing us to do that now. I've also had my first vaccine shot at the weekend. Me and my housemate went together. We have had our first dose of the Pfizer vaccine, very exciting. I'm here with a book diary today for our May book for Space Sirens Book Club, which is the Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. So I did actually start this on Saturday, and I meant to film this little intro thing on Saturday when I started it, but I ran out of energy because I was feeling quite tired after having had my vaccine and my arm was hurting, and I made lots of excuses. We are currently buddy reading this in our Space Sirens Discord. By the time you see this, we will have finished this buddy read, but if you want to check out our Space Sirens Discord, that's linked in the description box for you. You can see all the other stuff we talk about. We often do buddy reads and have like dedicated channels for each book that we read for the book club, and there's various other things going on in there, so if you want to chat with us more, go and check that out. I don't know whether this book diary will be live before or after we have our book club discussion, but if we've already had that, I will link that for you as well, so you can hear what the Space Sirens thought of this book from our live show. Okay, The Unbroken. I have been so hyped to read this book. I've been hearing a lot of good things about it. A lot of people talking about it. It's quite a popular book club pick at the moment. I didn't know anything about this going into it. I've read the first 4 chapters. So for the buddy read, we're meant to be reading 4 chapters a day, and I completely did not manage to read any yesterday. Now I've got 8 chapters to read today. I might do 6 today and 6 tomorrow, which is it's really ironic because I suggested 4 chapters a day and have been unable to stick to it, but never mind. Yeah, so I'm 4 chapters in at the moment. We have 2 main perspective characters. The book is told in 3rd person and it follows Terrain, who is a soldier. She was taken from her people as a young child. She was so young that she doesn't really remember her life before she became part of the army, and so she's been brought up to be a soldier in the army of the empire that colonised her people. The other character is the princess, who should be in charge of the empire, but her uncle is regent and she's got to try and prove to him that she is capable of ruling the empire. So they have come to the area that's been colonised, the southern continent, which was another empire that's been overtaken. Terrain is leading, so she's kind of the most senior of the colonised group of the army. As a division, they are trying to prove that they are loyal to the empire, but not all of them entirely are, and this is the first time they've been brought back to the area they were taken from, so she's got to try and prove herself as a leader and prove that they were right to give this responsibility to this army. The princess is trying to quell the unrest and show that this colony has really been brought into their empire. So a lot of interesting stuff about colonialism. There's been the barest hint of magic so far. Terrain's already stopped an assassination attempt on the princess's life and then discovered that her family might still be alive and in the city. I like to keep these quite spoiler free, but I mean, the point I've just got up to, I don't think is... Well, she's found herself in a sticky situation, let's put it that way. And so I'm just really interested to see where this book goes. I'm loving the writing so far. The descriptions are really vivid. I'm not entirely convinced about the characters yet, I'm going to say. I need a bit more time to get to know them, I think. There is an established female-female romance, which is quite cool to have that as like just an accepted fact within the book, and it seems to be okay within the world of the book, which is quite nice. And I'm going to see where it goes. I think it's going to be quite a lot of reflections on colonialism and how that affects the colonised groups. It's really interesting that one of the main characters and kind of her entire cohort, all her friends, are conscripts, are war babies. They've been brought into, like kidnapped and made into soldiers, and that is something that happens quite commonly, I think, still in certain areas of the world that are in conflict. So I'm really interested to see how those ideas, those issues are explored. So I'm going to read a little bit more now. I'm not sure I'm going to manage 8 chapters today because I think that would be like 100 pages. I'm going to aim for at least 6 though, because I need to catch up a bit. Oh, it's not too bad actually. It's about 75 pages. That's maybe doable. Anyway, we'll see how we get on. So I'm going to read for a bit now. I do also want to I've nearly finished Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas, so I would like to finish that tonight if I can. And then I have another book that I'm buddy reading, and another book I'm also about halfway through the 5th season. So I want to try and finish all of those books this week. My aim is to finish this book by the end of May, along with a number of other books that I'm already currently reading, and I still have one from my TBR that I haven't actually started yet. But I'm on holiday now for the next 10 days or so I hopefully will have time. I have a few plans with my parents while I'm down here. I'm getting my hair cut. It's very exciting. But ultimately my plan for the next week and a half is just to do lots of reading. So I'm gonna stop there and get on with some reading, and I will update you at some point over the next few days. Hello. So it is now Wednesday. I had my hair cut today, and I think it looks great. Very happy with that. I've had the same hairdresser for a couple of years now, and so even though I've moved to a different city, I still come back to my hairdresser in my old city when I'm visiting my parents. Still booking to see the same hairdresser because it's so hard to find a good one. Anyway, we're not talking about my hair. We're talking about The Unbroken. I'm a little bit behind on our buddy read. I'm about a day behind, and I'm probably not going to catch up today because it's quite late. I am currently on page 138, which is just into the second part of the novel. I'm not sure how many parts there are actually, and I'm enjoying it so far. I really like the 2 main characters. I think I talked a little bit about them in the first section. I like Luca, who's the princess, slightly more than I like Terrain, who is the soldier. Luca has kind of she's been brought up to reign. The Empire's under control of her uncle, who's a regent, and she doesn't agree with what he's doing when she feels she's got to prove herself. She also has a disability. She had a riding accident when she was younger and her legs didn't heal properly. Her legs were trampled and they didn't heal properly. So she has a disability and is often underestimated for various reasons, including her disability. I think the way that is being handled is done very well, in my opinion. Not being disabled myself, I can't necessarily speak to the accuracy of the representation, but I think the way it's that idea of how her disability affects her and how it affects how other people see her is really well explored. Terrain, I am hoping she'll grow on me a bit more as a character. I don't necessarily quite like her as much at the moment. I think there's just a lot of stuff that she's internalised. A lot of the themes of this book are to do with colonialism. So Terrain and a number of other soldiers from her cohort were conscripted. They were kidnapped essentially as kids and conscripted into the army. They're not very well treated in comparison to the other soldiers, and they've kind of been promised if they toe the line and support the Empire, then at some point maybe the Empire will acknowledge them and give them the same respect that the other soldiers get. Whether that is actually going to materialise or not is another matter. Terrain has bought into this. Some of the other soldiers haven't necessarily. And yeah, the plot is moving forward. A couple of people have said in our group chat for the buddy read that they're not entirely convinced by the plot yet. They like the characters, but they're not sure about the plot. And I feel the same. Like, I'm not sure where this is going. And it's quite a slow burn. It's not that it's a difficult read, it just seems to be very slow paced at the moment, and there has been some action and there is quite a lot of intrigue and kind of court politics, which I like, but I just kind of want things to happen maybe a bit faster, I don't know. And like, there's been very small hints as to what the magic system might be, but because the 2 main characters come from a society that doesn't really believe in magic, that hasn't really been explored yet. And I'm kind of just like, I read fantasy for the magic. Really, if I wanted like political machinations, then I would read a thriller, or like if I wanted colonial stuff, I'd read historical fiction, and I do read those things. So I think I'm just needing that fantasy element to come through a bit more than it currently is. But anywho, I'm going to read some more now. It is bedtime. It's quite late, and so I don't want to stay up too late. So I'm going to read a couple of chapters now, and then hopefully I'm going to try and catch up a bit more tomorrow. The problem is, at this point in the month, I have so many things that I'm trying to finish before the end of the month that I actually need to prioritise a couple of books that are on my TBR that I haven't finished yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to finish this one by the end of the month, even though that's the goal of the buddy read. I will definitely have finished it in time for the live show. I'm pretty sure of that because I've still got another week to go before that. But yeah, I'm going to read a couple of chapters now, and then I'm going to switch to one of the books that's on my TBR that I'm hopefully going to finish tomorrow. I've only got a couple of chapters left of that. I'm just not entirely sure how I'm going to manage to finish all 4 of these books in the next 5 days, but we will see. I might be able to. Anyway, particularly if I stop talking and start reading. So I'm gonna read a little bit of The Unbroken now, and then I might read something else, or that just might be enough to help me get to sleep. And I'll update you again in a couple of days. Hi, it's Wednesday again. I think last time I updated was last Wednesday, when I was frantically trying to finish everything on my TBR, which I did, so that was good, but that meant that I hadn't read The Unbroken for a few days. I've picked it up again this week, so I've read a couple of chapters over the last couple of days. So I'm now not quite halfway through, just coming up to halfway through. And the live show is on Saturday. Did I say today is Wednesday? Today is actually Thursday. It's actually Thursday. I've completely lost track of the days, apparently. Anyway, so today is actually Thursday. The live show is on Saturday, so I've got a couple of days left to finish it. I'm going to do some reading now, and I'm hopefully going to get through a good chunk of it. I'm finding it quite slow moving. I'm not wholly sold on the plot, but I do like the characters, so I'm going to keep going. I think I was okay with putting it down for a few days because in our buddy read on our Discord, there were a few people that were struggling with it. One person DNF'd it, and I wasn't enjoying it as much as I was hoping to. But since then, I've seen a couple of people really highly rate it, so that's given me a bit more of an interest again, I guess. So I think I'm gonna make a cup of tea, maybe get a snack, and then I'm gonna read some. And if I finish today, I probably won't finish today. I've still got over 200 pages to go. Actually, probably closer to 300. Unlikely that I'll finish today, but I'm gonna try, see how far I get in the next couple of hours. And then, yeah, I'll update you when I have read some more. Hello. It is now a whole week since I last updated you, and it hasn't taken me this long to finish the book. I just completely forgot to film the final part of this video, so apologies for that. I meant to do it on Saturday after we had the live show, and it didn't happen for various reasons, and I've been a bit busy and I just kept forgetting. So here we are now. It is Wednesday. I finished the book on, I think it was on Friday, it may have been Thursday. I can't remember. And basically, yeah, this book was a roller coaster. I think I ended up giving it 4 stars. And before we started the live show and we were having a little bit of a chat and it was trying to work out what angle we were going to talk about things from. And Angela was like, did anyone really dislike the book? Because that always adds an interesting element to the discussion. But I think most people that aren't enjoying the book give up on it. And I was like, oh, I didn't love it. I thought the writing was really good, but in terms of enjoyment, it was around about a 3-star, but I gave it an extra mark for the writing, which was kind of how I thought I felt. But then as we were discussing it, I realised actually how much I had taken from it. I still don't know if I would say I enjoyed it, but I thought it was a really, really good book. The main reason why I struggled to say I enjoyed it was because so much happened and it was so unpredictable and I really didn't know what was going to happen, and I found that really unsettling. I really cared about the characters, and I think that was the key thing that made this a good book for me, was the 2 central protagonists, Luca and Terrain. I really wanted things to work out for them. I just had no idea how that was going to happen. The whole setting of this empire, this colony of this empire, and the unrest and the conflicting motivations of the different characters, not just the 2 central characters, but all of the characters, and the interplay of that, and who do they trust and where do their loyalties lie, and just all of these different elements in play together made it very difficult to predict. A lot of the time also it felt like the characters were making really questionable decisions, but actually from the options they had, they were trying to figure out what was the best thing to do, not just for them but for the other people that they cared about. And so a lot of the time it was like, oh, I don't know if you're doing the right thing. And sometimes it was definitely like, I don't think you're doing the right thing, but I kind of understand why you're doing it. And so that balance, it was all done so well, but it meant it was a really unsettling book. I did struggle a bit with the pacing, especially at the beginning of the book. It took me a little while to get into it, but the second half, the pace did pick up for me. And I think pacing is an interesting thing, because we were saying in the discussion that some people struggled with the pacing of this book. I was one of them. Other people thought it was paced really well. And I think actually sometimes pacing is to do with enjoyment, because if I'm not enjoying a book or if I'm struggling to get into a book, it feels like it's dragging. And it's only once it captures me that I can then race through it. Like the second half of the book I read really, really quickly compared to the first half of the book. And that's because by that point it had hooked me and I just needed to know what happened. I think there probably was more action towards the end of the book as well, which is also something else that affects the pacing. Yeah, I think that's about all I want to say, because I don't want to go into spoilers. I think my summary is, don't go in expecting high fantasy. That's the first thing I'd say. I think it's pitched as a military fantasy, but it kind of isn't really. Like, there's not lots of epic battles. There is some description of some battles, but they're kind of not a key feature. It's a quite political fantasy. There are some magical elements, but it's not explored a whole lot, particularly at the start of the book. There's hints that there will be magic, and it's explored a little bit more towards the end of the book, and I'm assuming that will be developed more in following books. But yeah, don't go into this expecting either a lot of battles or a lot of magic, because neither of those things will happen. If you like political intrigue, if you like explorations of post-colonialism and what does colonisation mean, and a really real and I think quite accurate portrayal of some of the controversies and difficulties of empire and removal of empire and what that looks like, I thought this was really effective. And there's elements of espionage as well, which is quite cool. Yeah, so if you like political fantasies, or even if you're not sure about fantasies but you like political science fiction, then this may be a book that you would enjoy. And I would say it's worth persevering if you are struggling with the pacing or the unpredictability of it. I pushed through that and I really enjoyed it, but I know that isn't for everyone. There were a couple of people on our Discord group that just really weren't enjoying it, and I think one made it to the end but rated it quite low, and one gave up halfway through because they just couldn't get into it because there isn't that consistency of plot. It's definitely a character driven book rather than a plot driven book, in my opinion. So if you like to be able to predict what's going to happen, you might not like this book. I think that's all I'm going to say. I will link to that live show discussion so you can find out more about what myself and some of the other Space Sirens thought. That will be more spoilery, but the first kind of 10-15 minutes is spoiler free, and then we go into the more spoilery stuff, so check that out if you'd like to know a bit more about the book. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm not sure what my next book diary is going to be because I have read our next book before, so I don't know if I want to do a book diary for that, but there will be another one at some point. Yeah, look out for that in the future. But that's it for today, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.